Alright guys, today we are going to be reacting to Andrew Wilson confront the Christian feminist on her views on submission. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Thank you so much a lot for the support, guys. I really appreciate it. We're going to simply react here. It's a little late here in Wisconsin. It's midnight, but we have to get it done. We have to get it done, guys. Let's jump in.
All the women on the panel claiming to be Christian. You can't be a Christian and be a feminist at the same time. Feminism is antithetical to Christianity. Feminism is evil.
Oh, okay. Well, going around the table, Jason Cassell, thank you so much for the TTS. Really appreciate it. Do you consider yourself a feminist?
No, not really.
Yeah. No.
No?
Depends on how you define it, but no.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I would say yes, but then if I was asked by a feminist, sometimes they don't think sex workers can be feminists, so it depends. Yeah.
Okay.
That
What are
doesn't
they?
sound
I'm
about
anti-feminism.
Anti-feminist, okay.
Same here, anti-feminist.
Yeah, anti-feminism.
Anti-feminist. All right, we'll come back to the feminist conversation.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I was just for Chair 3. What do you think? I want to know this. What do you think submission means? What does that mean to you? Submission.
Like
Submission
listening
to your husband.
Like, yeah, respecting your husband, respecting their final decision making. I mean, obviously it depends on the situation, but typically trusting their decision making.
Then you're
Doesn't mean
deciding
okay.
when to be submissive, and ultimately you're not being submissive.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, hang on. Before you get into it, I just want to make sure that, because I think it's a fair criticism that if you're not defining terms, do you think that submission means obey?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, obey, and obedience.
Yeah.
Part of submission.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, why would you, I guess, following that line of reason, would it be submissive or non-submissive to question your husband's authority on a major decision?
Well, it's not that I wouldn't listen. It's that I would want to have a conversation about it. And I think most decisions can, I don't think and obviously there's some situations that we addressed that there does need to be an urgent decision that should be made by the husband. I think most major life decisions can be talked about before they're decided on.
I agree they can be. What I'm asking you to reconcile is your definition of submission being also obedience, obeying, trusting, doing, and reconciling that with the idea that there needs to be X to placate you if there's even a major decision which happens. Can you tell me how that fits your definition of submission?
Sorry, what do you mean by that? Like, you're asking what?
If you question the authority of your husband by demanding a conversation with something he doesn't want to converse about, but rather wants you to be obedient in, how does that form to your version of submission? How's that you being submissive?
I wouldn't necessarily question and demand a conversation. I think just in general, it could be problematic if a guy is not seeking discussions with his wife, though, because the initial example that was brought up at the very beginning in the clip was you're moving in 3 weeks and you come in and you say that. I don't know why you could not immediately after have a discussion. Hey, how are you feeling about this? Instead of coming in and just throwing it on her.
Perhaps you can, but the idea here isn't what you can or can't do. The idea here is what is submission, what is not.
Yeah.
Is it actually submission if he says, listen, I know that you probably have all sorts of protests here, but I don't want to hear them. I want you to instead execute and obey what it is that I'm expressing to you that I want done, to obey my will. Are you then submitting or not submitting by saying, no, we need to stop right now and have a conversation about this?
I'm not saying I would stop and say, hey, let's have a conversation. I might want to, and you can submit to your husband, and I can also still think that he should have a conversation with me about these things.
Yeah, sure. You can say that you think that he should, but the idea there in the clip then, when you had a criticism, you just countered the criticism because you said, no, I'm not saying that I would actually question it. That is submission, and that is exactly what I expressed. Submission is obedience.
Right, yeah, no, I'm saying I would absolutely submit to that. But no, my issue is this idea that guys should not be just making decisions. Sorry, I know you want to talk.
Oh, no,
as a person who doesn't care what they have to say all the time. I don't think that there's decisions where that's, obviously there are some, but in general that's not necessary. So I'm just pointing out that if a guy is doing this on things that can be talked about, that's an issue.
Well, then that's countering the trust that women should have in faith in men.
No,
The thing
I'm
is that inside of a Christian marriage, you're supposed to have trust and faith that your husband's leading you correctly, and trust and faith in his authority. When you say things like this, like, no, he needs to stop and have a conversation with you, he needs to justify it to you, he needs to make arguments to you for it, things like this, you're actually countering the view. It's actually, what it does is it inverts it. It inverts the view of what submission is actually supposed to be. It's obedience to your husband. It's really inside the Christian view, at the purview of the man to make these decisions. And that, I think, women should be reinforcing, who are Christian women. They should be reinforcing that idea of trust in your husband. Trust in your husband. Trust in your husband. And they don't. Instead, they resist submission at every level.
And then what happened? They end up, you know what's crazy? They end up resisting submission, and they seek out divorce. Isn't that funny? What they do is they try to break their man's will, and they eventually do it. Now, when they do it, they seek for divorce afterward because they're not attracted to it. It's just a very toxic relationship. They keep doing it. They keep emasculating the guy. They keep, breaking his will to the point that the guy just simply say, you know what, you're right. Well, I'm gonna simply avoid fights, or I'm gonna do whatever you want me to do. And then when you give that to her, she's now not attracted to you. You see how toxic this is? Because I can guarantee you, she get to a guy where they have to talk about things, in the long run, she's gonna resent him because he's not guiding her. It's right now, feminism has created this generation to the point that they are emitting toxic behavior to the point that they're even going against their nature. It's crazy, huh? This is Christian. These are Christians.
They think it's mean. They just quote mean, It's like, that to me is absurd.
I have a question for you, Andrew. So, question. Is it submission if, like, let's say, you're like, oh, we're going to move, the husband goes, oh, we're going to move to Nevada in 3 months. And then the woman's like, okay, I'm going to pack both of our stuff now. I just need you to tell me, like, why, as I'm packing. I don't need, like, I'm going to do it either way. I just need to know the reason. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Is that submission?
Well, actually, this is a great question. I understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
Let me
I'm doing
repeat
it.
back to make sure. Let me repeat it back to make sure you got it. So he says, look, we're moving in just a couple of weeks, right? You need to pack everything up.
I'm doing
and you go, okay, I'm packing it up, honey. Right? Now tell me why we're doing this again.
Yeah.
Right? Got it. So here's the thing. Let's say you do ask that question. He says, no.
Why? Well, is it legal stuff?
No. Don't say no. Just say, he says no. What is your role in the Christian view? He says, you say, can you tell me why? And he says, no. No.
I would be scared if it was it legal? Like, if it's another woman, I don't care. We'll pack up and leave. I don't, whatever.
Sure.
Like,
so he points out, he looks at you and he says, no, it's not
didn't
legal.
make sense.
oh,
There you go.
then I'm like, okay, like, then whatever. Okay, if it's not legal, then cool. We're not like skipping town,
Yeah, okay, so then you're gonna assume
Okay, if it's not legal, then whatever. Like, I don't care. I've lived out of a bag for like 10 years anyways.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
it. But what
Yeah,
I'm saying
sure.
is within the purview of submission, right?
Is that-
the
that-
fact that you even had to ask him if it was legal is also moving against your idea of trust.
Really?
It's moving
Yeah,
against
see, that's
the
true.
authority of your husband.
Well, then wait.
It's true
question-
because by this point, this is why you have fathers and brothers and uncle trying to vet the right guy, and that way he can lead you to the better place. It makes sense, guys. It does make sense. If your father, your uncle, your brother is there to vet the guys that you're meeting, to vet them because they want the best for you, right? They're gonna make sure that he is doing his job to guide you to the right place. Because you can get emotional anytime during the month, and that can have bad results. And it makes sense when you start thinking about it. It makes sense. Of course, we have some confusion in these contemporary times regarding the role of the man or the woman, because man has been emasculated, right, through a lot of propaganda.
Question. I got a question for you. What if I like pre-planned, like, in advance, in a sense where I was like, hey, on a date with him, before we were even married, and I was like, hey, if you ever needed to skip town, can you just let me know? My rule is to let me know, is it legal involved? If it's legal involved, then
So you mean you set down some boundaries that you had within
before I even get married?
Yeah, early on.
Yes.
Right? Do you expect him to adhere to the boundaries that you set?
I would hope so, yeah, because I'm going to adhere to all mine.
No.
Oh,
that's
what?
not submission.
What? No way.
That's right.
Come on, it's earlier.
Not submission. Submission in the
But can he
Christian
just
view,
tell me if it's legal or not?
Submission is the obedience to your husband.
I know, but what about the law?
It's obedience to the husband. Listen, I'm gonna try to explain this the best way I can. Inside the Christian view, even if pre-marriage you had some discussion about whatever it was, right? But here's what is put on the man's shoulders in the Christian view. He's to put his life before the lives of his wife and before the lives of his children. Mm-hmm. He's to accept all danger. They get the lifeboat, right? He doesn't get the lifeboat. He stays behind, right? If they're marooned on a desert island, he's the one who gets eaten and not them, okay? If there's any sort of defense of the nation which comes up, his duty and obligation is to go and take care of that problem. Mm-hmm. By the way, these are not the only...
Interesting point here. Notice when Andrew's talking about sacrifice and duties, look at how she's reacting to it. Look at here, guys.
Okay, if there's any sort of defense of the nation which comes up, his duty and obligation is to go and take care of that problem.
They don't like that. They do not like that. As a matter of fact, they hate it because it's a higher duty. I think, in my opinion, I think they hate it because it's a higher duty, because it's a high responsibility. And when you listen to it, it makes sense. You submit to him because he has all these responsibility, which is basically sacrifice. It's a duty, right? To sacrifice.
By the way, these are not the only duties that they have. That's just some. But the starting level of security at the home starts with the husband and the head, who is the husband. If they are providing those duties and providing those resources inside of the home, as they're supposed to do inside of the Christian view, right? Their wife's job is to submit to the authority. If he's holding up his end, right? His end of the authority here, you're supposed to be holding up his end of the authority, period.
Okay, well, we'll go, quick question, last one. So what if we made this thing where I was like, okay, if we ever need to skip town, move, whatever, could I just be like this, and then if you do this, then I know it's not legal?
Yeah, you can
so I'm not an accomplice?
You can put in the request for any high sign that you would want.
Okay, I'll just be like this,
So
and if
you
he goes
can
like
put
this, I'm like,
listen,
cool.
you can put in a request, but that's the opposite of submission to make a demand that he obeys your authority. A husband is not obligated to obey the authority of their wife. The opposite is the case.
I just went like this, and legal. Like, is this
but
legal?
what if they respond with this? You know? Right?
Even if it was legal, I'd be like, cool, do I get a lawyer, to help us?
And I gave you my high sign, right?
I would want to know if it was legal. If it was legal, it's fine. I'll just get a lawyer. That's fine. I just want to know, do I make the call?
No, you don't have any trust or faith in your husband?
I do. I do trust. I just want to know if it's legal.
If you have trust, then trust.
But the legal...
Do you know why that makes so much sense? Because the idea here is that if the man is taking the head, the Christ head here,
okay,
the role, right? The same way you're supposed to trust and have faith in Christ is the same way you're supposed to trust and have faith.
So I'm going to assume it's not legal.
Yes.
Okay.
You're supposed to.
Because if it is not legal, he's breaking his commitment. Don't you understand that? So it's a stupid analogy. If it's not legal, of course, you should not listen to him because it's not legal. Because it's not for the best of the family. Even though females will just in my opinion, I think females will just go with that. If it is not legal, they probably would like that. The fact that she's even asking that says a lot.
Yes.
Okay. I just thought immediate
trust.
Yeah.
As long as it's not illegal, I'm cool. I don't care. I can live anywhere.
Think about how easy it'd be to trust in a man who's taking on the role of dying for you.
Like you're like like your husband is supposed to love you as Christ loved the church, and Christ has died for you. So I think it'd be really, really, really easy to take in that submission role and take on that submission role when you know that he loves you enough to die for you.
Yeah, I'm cool, but he knows that I'm going to do this at one point.
Wait, I do have, going around the table on that note, the man being willing to die. Should your boyfriend, so you've been dating for a year, should your husband be willing to die, like take the bullet for you?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
Only if he wants to. Because, yeah.
Okay, quick answers.
Willing to, yes.
Willing to, yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then if a guy wasn't willing to, like, what's your response? Like, if he's like, nah, I'm not doing it.
Then why are we dating?
Why are we
dating?
Okay, he's got to give his life.
He's obviously not fulfilling that role.
Not fulfilling that role.
No,
okay.
I think like as
Yeah.
Christians we should be willing to take the bullet. Like I'm willing to take a bullet for most people. Like I think that
she's so focused on this egalitarian mindset, and she's a Christian. This is why you had to really go to a church, man, like a Catholic church or something that is very patriarchal, I will say. She's think that men and women are the same. Human rights, of course, we're all the same, but in reality, biologically, we're not. We're the same species, but we have completely different roles here, and she still want to just die in that hell.
it's pretty selfish
But
to
in
not.
a situation, you said man. The man should take the bullet.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone should I would take a bullet for my husband too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
That's actually beating up your own bibiblical role again.
Yes,
So
I
the
wouldn't.
idea here is
I would take a bullet for him.
the reason.
Of course, Andrew's mad at me for wanting to die for my husband.
Look, I'm not even trying to be. I'm beating up the ideology, not you personally. The things that you're saying here don't make any sense. Even from the Christian role, that would be incorrect. He should step in for all threats towards his family. That is his ultimate duty unto, not only fulfill to his family, but unto God. He's supposed to. You don't have to.
Yeah, but I want to.
And here's why you shouldn't.
And I think we should.
Hang on, here's why you shouldn't even. Because the idea is you're a caretaker for the children, this kind of thing, right? These roles are set for a specific reason. Right? But all of this usually comes down to just a paltry excuse for egalitarianism and refusal to submit to your husband's authority. And so you come up with all sorts of crazy mental gymnastics to try to justify egalitarianism, why we need to be more equal, why the husband and wife need to have a fair shake against each other. No, the Christian view, submission of the wife to the husband leads and is in authority.
just look that way. Okay. Wait, I had to follow up on this. Well, I guess my confusion is there was a lot of pushback on this whole, the man, like you don't want to be submissive to your husband, but you want him to die for you? Like, does that seem like a fair, like the least a man can get, I suppose a Christian man can get, is if he's willing to die for you, if he's going to provide, if he's going to protect, you should at least obey him. That's way better trade-off. I just have to obey, you have to die. Shit, if somebody gave me the choice, none of y'all are going to date me after this. If I have to obey if the choice is, okay, Brian, you got to obey somebody or you die, I think I'd rather obey somebody. Now I'm going to get called a beta male, whatever. Fine, I accept the beta male title. I will survive and whatever. I think the woman should take the bullet because I'm better suited to, after breastfeeding, I'm better capable. Maybe breastfeeding, the women are better at. Can you milk a man? I don't think you can milk a man.
No, they're actually doing it.
You can tell Brian likes, coconuts. They love them.
Not naturally.
Males do lactate.
Yeah.
There are males who lactate, yes.
Yep.
That's true.
You can milk a man. Wow, that is disturbing.
You have to
That's
take
disturbing.
drugs for it.
There was a big to-do because there was a group of the T's who pumped themselves full, in fact, of various hormones so that they could lactate more. And there was a big controversy over what the quality was of what they were putting out there. And
Yep.
when it was scientifically tested, it was not good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Shocker.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think shit.
Yeah, I don't know about that last story. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hey, if she's Christian and not submissive, you have to cut her loose, man. I don't want to hear anything in the comment section. Nah, but I hear somebody, man. Sometimes some guys they just comment some weird stuff in my comment section. I just let them be. I just let them be. Some people are just gone, man. They're just gone. They're just simply gone, man. But let me know what you guys think. I'll see you next one.